Oh, that's just yeah, that's right now.
Howdy.
Hey.
Howdy.
Welcome.
We haven't started yet. We'll probably be recorded. So. Give Sean a few more minutes. I think he's on our way here. Feel better?
Start to, yeah.
It's been going around.
Yeah, both my kids had it, and just
My wife's a teacher. She turned that on that in her classroom. She's like, please don't bring it home. It's impossible.
It's been a very sick winter. Everyone I know has been more sick, I feel, than any other year.
our neighbor across the street, she works at Superior Elementary. She made a comment to me last week. She said every kid in school is sick. Everyone. There's not one that's not sick.
I'm sure they just keep giving it to each other.
Fantastic. Somehow my wife always brings it home but doesn't get sick herself. I was under the exact same symptoms her kids have, so she is immune to everything. Perfect share.
I woke up today and felt a lot better than yesterday. That's good. Assuming
Our whole committee's taking it. Sean's living around, he had knee surgery.
maybe she'll avoid injury for the last few years.
Hey, now, Toby Lucas and
I have been running for a few years. Still thought I was in my 20s, but I really wasn't.
I had a couple major knee surgeries over the past couple years, and now I'm just like, all right, I'm done. Everything that I used to do that was high impact.
Somebody's got a little pitch in their get along.
Oh, yeah, I had knee surgery last
Oh.
Wednesday, so I'm getting better.
Where's the crutch?
Too expensive. It's gonna cost extra, you know. Well, I guess I won't get them.
It'll be pretty minor if you're up to go.
Yeah, it was just a clean up meal, so.
All right, Paul. I think that's all that's going to make it for this evening. So go ahead and just do introductions and get going. Ken Lish, Chair, FOSAC.
Fiona Boger, Advisory Committee member.
Sean Samuelson.
Joel White, committee member.
Sandy Pennington, Trustee Liaison.
Allison James, Staff Liaison.
All right. And I don't see any public, so we could probably skip the public comment.
Unlike the town board meeting. Wow.
It's back there.
That was a lot of people. Yeah.
So the first update and look ahead is the Coyote hike recap. I forgot to pull up the
I've got
summary.
it.
You wanna
I've got
start?
it. So there were 17 people in attendance, and the feedback was that Ashley gave participants a lot of great information and that she was very personable.
Patricia also attended, and she said it went really well. She had nothing but good things to say about it.
What was the age range? All ages kind of deal? Do you know?
Yeah, it's all ages. All of the educational programs are typically all ages. The only one last year and the year before that was limited to 12 and over, I think, was the Coyote lecture because, it was a sit down more for adults and older children that we're not hosting this year because of low attendance. We may skip a year was the decision from the committee this year. We're doing the Nature at Night, nighttime hike series, and as one of them is in place of that coyote lecture because the group had discussed that it would be cool to have some nighttime education, that it's fun to get out at night in the summertime.
I'm missing my list. Is that what's next in the order of activities that she's hosting?
No, the next thing, which is on our updates and look ahead as the last item.
Yes, that's right.
Number 3, which is, we could do it now if you don't mind, it's the Winter Wildlife Walk, and that's February 20th from 9 to 11 a.m. and everybody's meeting at the South Pool parking lot. And basically, our wildlife ecologist will take all ages again out to explore the area behind the South Pool and look for signs of wildlife and birds and coyotes and anything else.
All right. So jump back up the list to number 2, the Coal Creek Corridor. I initially had put that on there just so I could kind of refresh everyone's memories about where the group was on that, and that we were really focusing on trying to protect that area that's Parcel 2, is that the park that's right there? That's where the field is likely going to end up, and that it's going to encroach pretty darn close to where that creek is. However, after we kind of got this put together, we had the meeting with the board on Monday, and it was pushed heavily that we would actually be involved with the consultants that are going to be putting together the design for the corridor. So rather than bringing it up and discussing it now, I think it's probably best just to focus on it then, and when we can actually make a difference on it. So don't really have an update on that then.
I do. I actually met with the town manager today. And remember at the dinner we suggested you, Ken, Matt, me, whoever, anybody can. I think we all have to sit down and get some clarity, because I personally feel that your Coal Creek Corridor function is probably the most important place you can have a tremendous impact. So if you put all the interactions you've had together, you've been asked to look at it on Parcel 1, which is the furthest east, Parcel 2 now, Rogers, up through, so you're basically having the whole Coal Creek Corridor, and I think, I'm hoping when you get to number 6, because this, I don't think can just go meeting to meeting and have a few minutes discussed. I think people who are interested in that might have to form a task force of 3 people or something off your committee to really get a handle on that whole thing. On parcels 1 and 2, it's that there's a proposal to hire a consultant to put an FDP together for a lot of money, and that is particular impact you can have there. And I was actually surprised, and I was meeting with Matt about something else and just happened to ask this question. Some things I thought were sort of set in stone are maybe not so set in stone, and so there's a opportunity for I think this committee to have some of its concerns addressed about that. Also, by the way, in PDA 3, so what that is in longhand, the developer, it's Plan Development Amendment 3. The parks are once again front and center, and we discussed those Monday night and have another meeting February 29th, and I actually think people from this committee need to get a copy of that PD and need to look at what's happening to the parks, because in Parcel 2, the acreage has been reduced by virtue of some of the changes the developer has made, but the size of that massive field has remained unchanged. So it's squeezing in there tighter. So I think you guys would be wise to take a look at that. So really, I think if you want to be activist about it, you don't have a better opportunity than now. And if you don't take advantage of it now,
It might be too late. Is it going to be discussed only on the 29th, or is it also being discussed on the 22nd? Is there...
no, it is not discussed on the 22nd, only on the 29th, because one of the trustees is missing on the 22nd. So on the 29th is a special meeting.
Okay.
So between now and then, I don't know if that's your leadership or whatnot really needs to study that, get together with Allison, sit down with whoever you need to see. I don't know, it wasn't on there big enough for me to figure out if it's where they gave up the space. So maybe the corridor is not more encroached upon, or maybe it is, but I couldn't tell, but somebody knows.
Okay. I was planning on trying to go to both the 22nd and the 29th, but I certainly think we can do some analysis via email with the entire committee to at least collect everyone's comments and discuss it that way. Anything that I can say to the board, or anybody else who wants to join as well and show up.
Well, Allison, who would you, if you had a meeting, I mean, would it be with you and Patrick, you and Matt, and whoever, like Ken or interested parties on OSAC? How do we get a basic understanding of the challenges so that these guys can define some work plans regarding the creek?
I think definitely meeting probably with Patrick and I would be a good direction to go in. I can talk to him tomorrow, and so that maybe someone that is really familiar with that plan could, you could ask questions and look at it in real paper.
Right.
That might help if,
I think that'd be really useful.
Other than that, I would be, I could definitely talk to everybody to try to get the PD sent an email for those,
It was attached in the board packet for last night's meeting, right? I think
It should be.
I remember looking at it. I'm pretty sure.
You mean the PD Amendment 3?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then
It's whether or not.
I mean,
you
I know number 2 can be
I
found.
demand the big sheets because, getting it all in PDF and whatnot, I find to be difficult.
And
You can get big sheets too, you can ask, specifically for those sheets that involve Coal Creek.
The other thing is to, if your schedule is tight or whatever, we'd be happy to do email or, a meeting either way.
I think there's got to be some round the table.
Yeah, I think an in-person
Stuff.
meeting would make a lot of sense. I don't know who all is available during normal work hours, since this would probably fall within that. But I'm just thinking probably next week would be better than trying to squeeze it in this week. It clearly has to be before Monday of next week, so probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week would be best to shoot for. Maybe Allison, if you and Patrick can get together and shoot out a few times, and then whoever can make it, we can choose the best time to come in and meet with you guys.
Sure.
And if you include me, I'll try to be there.
Okay.
So Monday's
Okay.
President's Day, I assume,
Mhm.
offices are closed?
Yeah, we are closed.
Let's skip Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
So that leaves Tuesday, Wednesday. I can usually be here with a, day or two's notice, so, if we can set a time sometime this week, I can probably free up my schedule for Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Yeah. And I should be able to do the same.
Yeah, I can too. I work from home, so.
Yeah, I'll have to know how many people, and then maybe I can reserve a space if there's one available, depending on how many people.
3 is good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think 3 is a good number.
Okay. Yeah, so shoot out some times and we'll nail it down and perfect.
Okay.
I don't think we have anything else in the corridor then. The US 36 and Davidson Mesa underpass, there weren't any updates on that, were there?
No, there's no new information, although it looks, I drove by it today just to check on it for the group, and
Looks
it just has a
closed.
big barricade,
Yeah.
and it looks really close. It looks.
It was seemingly open for weeks.
I think it wasn't officially.
It wasn't
open.
official.
I saw a lot of people using it, and I
Yeah.
still see a lot of people using it.
There was actually an
but-
email sent out saying that it's actually still closed, so.
But it has definitely been reinforced, barricaded for the last week or two.
Yeah.
I think they started doing more construction above it, and I'm guessing that's got to be what's going on in case there's something gets dropped. I mean, it's probably just one of those safety things that
Yeah.
I bet it's safe to go under. Just don't know what's going to fall on you otherwise. Okay. The Superior Town Center naturalized buffer area. That's going to be discussed later on by the board. We don't have anything new from a.
What we do know is the developer has agreed to restore it to the same specs as it was before. I'm, as a trustee, pushing for that all to occur in a public process with the plan presented so that the public who has been affected by the current grading can weigh in, and so that the board can be assured it's going to be handled in a structurally sound manner. And I think I've raised enough stink about that it's going to occur publicly, which is a whole lot different than just allowing him to restore it. I'm going to keep pushing for that. But I think a June, July timeframe was put on it by the developer on Monday night. The residents, of course, would like it done before the summer, but he seemed to have a lot of reasons why that would not work. So I think June, July is what we should work with.
So as that process goes through, that's when we can step in and add our 2 cents about design and trails that might go in that area and whatnot. Okay. In that case, I think we've done all the updates and look ahead on the agenda. The next agenda item is the recap of the board meeting, the joint board meeting with OSAC that happened on Monday night. There were 3 of us from the committee there, Patricia, Sean, and myself. I thought it went really well. We discussed the mission and goals, and they were in favor of having it get put up on the website, and I believe Allison said that it is now officially up on the website right now.
Is it? Sure.
I put it up on the website.
But Sean's going to make sure.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna make
Sean, make
sure.
sure.
Did you switch chair and vice chair as well while you
I
were?
did.
Okay, good.
Oh, cool. After that, we talked about the expedited trail construction. Again, they were very much in favor of that. The main questions that came up were costs. It was determined that, as we already knew, we don't have any current costs, so we were more or less taking wild guesses, educated wild guesses, but wild guesses nonetheless, about how much we were looking at in total. And I think it was decided the best way to go forward so we could actually get those costs is for us to make a recommendation to the board to put out a RFQ so we can have people quote us some real numbers and we can go from there. Unfortunately, that's not something we can do tonight because we only have 4, so I guess we'll have to push that off until next month's meeting.
We have 9 members, right?
Yes.
Last I checked, yes.
Yep. So we more or less have the green light to make that recommendation, so we will do that at the next meeting. The next piece that was talked about was OSTAC and ProStack collaboration items. That more or less mirrored what we have on our work plan. The board appreciates that we're reaching out and working with ProStack. I will, one thing I forgot to mention, jumping back to the trail construction, is the mayor noted that he would be interested in seeing how we can incorporate the youth corps into some of this trail construction. I think there was a little confusion on how we could do that through a recommendation and whether it'd be better to just have them come out and work volunteer projects, or maybe we get them involved with Coyote Ridge. That's certainly something that we can talk with ProStack about.
There are two groups, and it's easy to get them confused. The Youth Corps.
And that was what the
and
mayor
our
said. And then there's
Youth Advisory Group.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure which one he meant. I know
I
the youth
think when
corps.
he started out, he meant the Youth Corps.
Yeah.
That we have applicants for every summer, and
Yeah.
it works in the summer. I think that's what he meant.
And that's what I assumed as
And then I
well.
brought up the Youth Advisory Group, which is the high schoolers, 8th grade through high school. It's the new, it's called Superior Youth Leadership Council.
Mhm.
And they may want to get involved in that as well.
And also, we do have a volunteer coordinator.
Yep.
And she has been working on some type of program for volunteer for trail work. So that would also be someone that we would want to work with because she's been working on a project for them.
Is she coordinating that with OSAC and ProStack?
Not yet.
Maybe she should, right?
No, that's what I mean.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly,
Oh, good.
exactly.
Oh, you mean as she started this after they did?
She had been working on it for a while, because she noticed other municipalities doing it. And I've spoken with her, that this is one of the interests that OSAC was talking about on their work plan for this year. It hadn't been approved yet, and so there was like a
Okay.
little interesting overlap kind of with the two ideas.
Could she maybe come to our next meeting and
So we
present
could
her
also reach out
ideas?
to her
Okay.
and just see what she's putting together and her timeline, what she was thinking, and see if there's anything we can add to it or work in unison on.
And she's also the liaison to the Superior Youth Leadership Council, and so it all kind of ties in a nice, neat,
Perfect. Okay. So after we talked about the OSAC and ProStack collaboration, we did talk about the Coal Creek corridor. As I mentioned, the board would like to see us have a lot of input and work directly with the consultant once a contract is actually in place for the Coal Creek corridor. So we'll definitely take a large step in that. And then the last thing that was discussed was Coal Creek Crossing, the trails that we met about last month. We had recommended to the board that we don't build either the east-west or the north-south trail because of existing trail connectivity, and it was more or less duplicitous. ProStack had made a recommendation to not build the east-west, but to build the north-south. And I believe last night the board made a final decision, and neither are being built. So we gave them our input before they made that decision last night, or on Monday night. Sean, Sandy, was there anything I missed?
Yeah, you missed the discussion around the reservoir and
Oh, yeah.
boardwalk and the upcoming Zaharias property concept plan that's coming up on the 22nd or 29th?
That
one of
one's
those two.
that one's the 22nd.
That's a big one.
Yes.
Because I that was the first I had heard of that. I didn't realize, is this being, something that's being planned by the people that own the property? Or is this something that,
I don't know if they're doing it or they're selling it potentially to these people. I can't remember. It's a new thing that just emerged here in the past month. And a concept plan is the most informal type of design. Look through basically what they're, in a concept design, they're presenting what they want to do and just looking for board direction. Is this anything the board would welcome? Or does the board hate our idea? You know, it tells them, spend the money to bring back a more formal proposal or don't bother, right? So those are always good to look at, to participate in, to watch them, and then also if you're intent on having this boardwalk as part of the Zaharias build-out, then that's certainly a time for you to make that known, so they're thinking about that as they bring a more formal proposal.
Where is this property? I'm not familiar with it.
up 88th?
It's the north side of the Hodgson Harris Reservoir
Yeah,
area.
so if you're going up 80, is this 88? Yes, 88, it's right here. It's right next to the reservoir, just
Okay.
before you cross over.
Okay.
6.
And that's the 22nd, is that what you said?
Yeah. And it's a property we've had our eye on.
That's the one we've talked about in this
That's-
meeting,
that was
about
one of our
the bird
priorities.
sanctuary,
Yes,
and that it was
exactly.
very expensive. Somebody's now looking like they may proceed with buying it.
We'll find out.
I think a combination of senior type of living and storage units and some entrepreneurial space. So it's an interesting combination of stuff all in
I'd
one.
say.
Is the
thing.
plan publicly available yet, or do we need to wait until?
Yeah, it was part of well, I don't know if it was part of a board packet. It was,
I was gonna say, I don't think the pack for the
the
22nd
board
is
has
out yet.
received something on it. I'm not sure if it's gone more widely than the board, but you can check on that. If that can be sent out to the committee, you can take a
We
look
would
at
like
it.
that.
Yeah, that'd be great as soon as we can see it. Or we'll,
Right.
yeah, just have to wait.
Anything we receive that isn't under confidentiality from the attorney, you can get, so.
Perfect. Did you want to talk more about what was said with the boardwalk? I mean,
Let's see, so, yeah, we discussed the possibility of, you know, what we would do if we had a boardwalk, where it would go, where the parking would be, you know, and how much it might be used. I think there was, obviously, Boulder County they want nothing to do with it. I guess the parking would be over on that side street there, with the expectations that most people would just walk there as opposed to driving there. But that we were going to probably wait out what a future developer might do before we approach them.
Yeah.
Try and make something more of it.
I think they were somewhat disappointed in the beginning that we weren't going forward with some type of viewing area, but once it was kind of explained.
Well, there really isn't a viewing. I mean, you see
Exactly.
the highway and there's no tree, and well, there's a couple dead trees, but,
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot.
Once it was discussed, I think everyone kind of realized, yeah.
Yeah,
We should be waiting.
and we still need to approach like maybe the Audubon Society and things like that to put some bird houses out in the middle of it, if that's something we're allowed to do. I mean, there's some constraints there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And if
Since
they're
it's-
gonna be developing
Yeah.
areas right next to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would
Might
be,
take away the feel.
right.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the pelicans, but, you know, we don't know.
Okay, well, does anyone else have any more questions or comments about the board meeting?
I think it was also suggested that we update our trail map.
Yes.
To include the Highway 36 underpasses, as well as, there was another one.
The Dr. Cog?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
I
Which-
did want to, this is a funny, because it's the same mistake I made when I was in the audience attending the board meetings. Dr. Cog is not a doctor. It's DRCOG, is Denver Regional Council of Governments. And it's just capitals all across. Just.
This doctor's
I was like, wow, do we have a cog railroad? What?
So I have a question along these lines. If we're going to include that, should we put the Calmonte Trail back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can have them all, the
I-
ones, they can be a different color.
I was gonna say, I think what we need to
Colors.
do is we need to just make a new color to show what's gonna be privately funded, what we're proposing is public funding, and what might be coming through grants that we will have to match with some type. That way we can just track it.
Frankly, I didn't really understand the discussion on the Dr. Cog trails. Do you understand what was being said on the Dr. Cog trails?
Well, I kind of have maybe an idea.
Okay.
I worked on those applications, and usually these types of grants have matches, and I think that Trustee Dizelle was discussing something about the matches for the.
But
I think
sometimes the matches just come out of the general fund.
I think her
Yeah.
goal wasn't to see how much we were, like, with the open space fund gonna have to pay. I think she wanted us to be able to see how much the total cost for those were gonna be. That way we could start to forecast how much each of those 7 trails were gonna cost. And we
Oh,
could
okay.
start to figure out an idea
I
of what
gotcha.
we're looking at from a
Oh, that
monetary
makes sense.
perspective.
Okay. I got a little lost in that one.
Yeah, she was trying to use it as price points for benchmarking.
And the other thing, I did look at the budget because I think we kept on thinking it was 250,000. It's 200,000. Yeah, just to
Okay.
clarify, because I kept on thinking, it kept niggling at me, and I wanted to make sure.
And I thought it was 202, but I went back to my notes and I had 250 written there. I'm like, oh man, I must be mistaken. All right.
I did go to the budget book.
Dang it.
So are specific trails already earmarked for that 200?
Not that I know of.
And that was where there was a little bit of confusion on Monday night. I had sent Patrick an email, or no, I think you sent Patrick an email just asking what the trail preferences were for construction. And Patrick's response was, staff does not have a preference, it's whatever they are
Well,
less instructed.
sounds like an opportunity to start at the top.
Yep. Get all
Because
7 of
it was
them.
very well received, the approach of OSAC was very well received about building out west of Colton the whole way.
Mhm.
And then, of course, it comes over to the east side a little bit, but that made a lot of sense and was easy to understand, and they're like, okay.
Well,
The
now we
only
just-
thing maybe is, I could find out, but there may be some type of repair or something.
Yeah, could you have a report on that?
Yeah, for sure. Just to check, just
Yeah.
as, not to build new, but there may be some type of repair or something that I could check with our superintendent on, just to make sure.
The repair of a,
Like a trail.
okay.
A certain area that may need a little bit of mitigation for
Oh,
something.
what's
like
already on the dock,
sn-
gotcha.
a lot of snow or who knows, I don't know.
Jumping back to updating the trail map, Allison, what's the best process to do that? Is that something we should be involved in, or is that something staff takes on, or what's?
So I went to a meeting today, which is a regional trail mapping app group, to where the region staff in the region, like open space staff, are just discussing potential ways that we can use existing data and share files that we have in GIS and things to try to make something that's comprehensive for users. And I met with Ember Brugnell, who is with Louisville, our kind of my counterpart, the liaison to their OSAB. and we had gotten the memo from them, and so I was speaking with her regarding our joint meeting that we need to work on for our work plan, and she said maybe April, so that's something. And then beside her was Rob, who is our counterpart in Lafayette, and he is up for meeting as well if the group is interested to have like a tri-group. And we kind of talked about, one of the things we talked about was what we wanted to see as far as functionality to come out of this engagement with this group. And so he was also going to talk to his OSAC in Lafayette to see if April would be a good date. I thought it would be for us. So I said, you know, we would be willing to meet. The question would be, so Louisville and our group meet on the same night, which is really handy. They start at 7 and we start at 6:30, so that would be an easy one to work. Lafayette is the first Thursday of the month, so he would have to, he said he had no problem in shifting to our night, but we just need to decide, you know, because we only have 2 rooms, so we would have to either meet at our own places and move somewhere else, or, you know, just if we wanted to just, our April meeting just be a vote on anything or recommendation that we need to make to the board, and then maybe this, and that's it. I don't, you know.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, was there any Broomfield representation at the meeting you're at?
There was not.
Do we know if they have the equivalent of like an OSAC?
I
there?
think they
Broomfield?
do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They have a website.
I think that's another group we're going to want to touch base with, considering our shared borders with them as well, just so we can get on the same page as them.
So, would you prefer that I also invite them?
I mean,
Or how do you feel? That would be potentially, say, you know, just if a
Starting to
ballpark.
Getting unwieldy? Yeah.
Say there's 8 in
Well,
all
I
3
guess it
groups.
depends on our intent. I mean, what is our intent to have, if we were to bring them all together, it would be to discuss interconnecting trails that all go from one town to the next and then to the vast mountain open space? Or are we talking about joint programs? I guess that's.
I think that was kind of up in the air, and what I was kind of hoping to get in with our last agenda item for the night, what we did last year was they more or less gave us updates, and we gave them some updates as well. We had talked about wanting to give more responsibility to members within our committee to pretty much follow more or less just different assignments. One assignment, be a active follower of what's going on with the Louisville OSAB, active follower of what's going on with Broomfield, active follower of what's going on in Boulder County. And with that discussion, I was hoping we could identify what our goals were with that. So I don't think we've had the discussion of what we are hoping to get out of that.
Well, 2 things were discussed at my meeting today that we kind of just talked about, and one of them was, you know, of course, a Trails app, or, you know, how to get our information to the public, which is on our work plan as far as marketing and some type of web, you know, capability for residents to
Definitely
see.
think there would be some benefits to having some similarity between all the municipalities in a mapping standpoint.
And then the other one was, I don't know if you remember last year, but we talked about wayfinding a lot, and what different organizations are doing with, you know, their area, and, you know, just to know.
I personally think that if we can get the towns that touch us as well as each other together, so us and Broomfield and Louisville, those 3 to start with, because those are the ones that we would have an immediate,
Yeah.
trail connections with. Lafayette, not so much.
Yeah, I'm not sure how useful a Lafayette meeting would be for us specifically. I mean, if we're trying to do something broad with the region, then yes, but
Right.
I don't know if that's our intent.
Is Lafayette on Coal Creek, Coal Creek?
On Coal
The
Creek?
Coal Creek
The
Trail
Coal Creek
runs through
Trail.
Lafayette, yes.
Mhm. That was one of my thoughts, was
Does-
that we do kind of have a route that goes off in that direction.
Louisville still splits between us on that, right?
Yep.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So I guess the question could be also, do we want all members to attend, which could be approximately 24
Who-
or
no.
more people?
Yeah.
Or do we break it down, or is there anybody that's more interested than others, or?
I think breaking it down makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, and to Sean's point, I mean, I think there's a lot of upside, but I think if we don't go in with some sort of agenda, we're gonna have 24 people talking about the 24 things that are on each one of their minds, so.
Last year, we created an agenda, so.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely need to whittle that down. I almost feel as if it might be more beneficial just to do individual meetings with those municipalities. That way we can focus on specific things. 'Cause Louisville will probably have the same comments that we just did with Lafayette, where does Louisville share a border with Broomfield? I guess they do,
With Lafayette?
with Broomfield.
Louisville
Oh.
and Broomfield do, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so they'd still be interested.
Right.
I would say at this point, going forward, we should try to talk with them. I think an April date makes sense. We should definitely propose not an entire committee meeting, and then we can identify either this meeting or at our next meeting, we have more people who might want to volunteer, who would show up, and we can figure out an agenda from that point.
Do you want to think about a number maybe that might work, if it's 3?
I think three is always a good number.
Yeah.
3 for me?
Good things come in
Okay.
threes, yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to hear like Broomfield's take on some of there's some properties that are on the other side of Highway 128 that are, I don't know if they're for sale or what the deal is, but I'd like to hear what their plans are.
Yeah.
And how that impacts the
I
Jefferson
think
Parkway and
maybe,
all that.
Pre-meeting might have to happen on, because just not to inadvertently step into something on that.
Hmm.
Because that is that Rocky Mountain
Yep,
Parkway.
Rocky Flats.
Yep.
Trails into Rocky Flats.
Mm-hmm.
There's,
I think the one with Broomfield would probably be an easier agenda to set. It would be similar to what we did with Louisville last year, where it's kind of that meet and greet and, hey, this is our big agenda, or this is our big go-to items. What's your big go-to items? Louisville, we've done that already, so we don't need to repeat ourselves, so we can kind of move on, but.
and Broomfield is a city and a county, right?
It
They're
is.
huge.
They're huge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, well, gone as far as we can tonight on that then. We'll leave it for the next meeting to define who wants to go there, and then set an agenda for that.
Yep.
And we will collaborate with the other municipalities
Yeah.
on what they want to see on the agenda as well, and come up with a final version sometime between now and then.
That makes sense. So I don't think we officially moved to our 5th agenda item, but we talked about it. Does anybody else have anything else to add about the Louisville OSAD meeting or anything that was in there?
I mean, the only other thing I was thinking is, also border Boulder County on this side. I don't know what there is. I mean, I think from what I've been involved with Boulder County Trails, I don't think they have any plans for anything else in this general area.
Right, although on our trails, 5-year trail plan, there are some trails that we would need some buy-in from Boulder County though. So that might be a possible opportunity to.
Well, the nice thing about our request is that our, want for collaboration is definitely noted because we send them our request, and so it's a nice way to be able to do that.
Let's see. Since they're a lot bigger and a lot more defined in what they're doing, I'm not sure we need to involve them right now, but that could be something that we reach out to them. We give our recommendations to them in the third quarter, is that right? Or is it end of the second quarter?
I want to say it's August.
Yeah, I think it's August as well. So maybe leading up to that, that would be a good, if we are going to meet with them and just talk to them and just say, hey, this is what we're interested in. We get kind of verbal feedback and bounce ideas off of each other to see what would work best or anything like that. That might be a better timing
Maybe with
standpoint.
With ProStack, if we do the recommendation with them, then it would
Yep.
be.
That would make a lot of sense. Okay. So, last discussion item was the work distribution. My thought was the best way to go might be to first brainstorm what type of work is going to get distributed. That way we can make a list and figure out if we just want to assign one person to it, whether we have a list that's way too big and we need to whittle down what's most important to us. But I think a good starting place is just figuring out what we care about enough that we want to make sure we have one person that is just always kind of keeping tabs on it. So I think we talked about Broomfield, we talked about Louisville, more or less just what the municipalities are doing.
What about ProStack meetings? I mean, should we have somebody sitting in on a ProStack meeting
I think that makes sense.
every month?
I have
And-
a list too, that I just threw in all the events. I put ProStack's board meeting, if we want to go down that list. And then maybe if somebody wants to be point person on work plan items too.
When does ProStack meet?
Third Wednesday at 7.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sandy, you had mentioned, which I think is probably a good idea, Coal Creek type
Coal
group
Creek
as
has
well.
a separate item.
Do we want to have, when do we want to have our ProStack meeting? It was supposed to fall in the first quarter. And
We haven't reached out to ProStack leadership yet. I was thinking of reaching out to them and shooting for sometime next month.
Yeah, really only use March for the town meeting, everyone else in April.
Well, and I figure if we reach out to them, if I reach out to them this week, they can talk about any discussion items that they might want brought up during that meeting as well at their full meeting on Wednesday. So I guess, does anybody have any, I mean, we've got our 3 topics up there. Talking about Coyote Ridge, I think, is something else that we'll add to it, so there's 4 topics.
So, kind of tied in with the last topic is, I mean, should we have a involvement from ProStack and this committee with the other communities? I mean, should we get 2 or 3 from this committee and a couple from ProStack to be kind of the joint front for?
I don't think so. I like to keep them separate, and this is our territory, so I want to keep this our territory.
Because
I don't-
this is OSAB.
Yeah.
From the coordinating towns. It's,
Yeah.
it is the open space group.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we don't venture into like the Parks and Recreation side of anything that those other municipalities
A
are doing,
thing
I
I
think
think
we're
you need
okay.
to add for your joint ProStack meeting is, are you reading their minutes every month? They continue to speak about doing this outreach and possibly doing a survey, et cetera, of the community on trail
Yeah.
stuff. So I think you have to have that discussion, because if one of you if they want to do it, you guys hopefully will reach consensus, yes or no, and if it goes forward, you do want input.
Yep, and I know we already talked about that as a group, and we decided we'd rather not go forward with it because we've been receiving good input in an informal manner at all of our
But the-
events.
if they go forward,
Then we'll.
are you gonna wanna participate in that?
I think we'd probably want to have some type of participation in it. Add it to the list.
Got it.
In terms of work groups here, I think Fiona and Joel are both interested in that volunteer trail reconstruction project. And you may all be, but those are the two that come to mind.
And if we want to try to find a way to bring the youth corps into that too.
The youth corps or the youth advisory group?
Did we say youth corps was the one that?
The youth corps is the one we have here in the summer.
Well,
Yeah.
usually the youth corps has an agreement drawn up, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think there may be specific projects that they can do, and some they can't because of equipment or in their ages and things like that. So that's something I could talk to our park superintendent, who usually handles that group in the summertime through that agreement. And then we can, work with our volunteer coordinator specialist.
Have we
or-
thought about talking with the youth advisory committee about events like National Trails Day or other educational events to see what, like from a kid's perspective, what they might like to see at those events instead of us?
They-
That's a great idea.
They
Thinking what-
participated with us last year in National Trails Day, and they actually did a game for kids called Predator and Prey, and it fit in really nicely with our Hot Quest program, which is scheduled for 9:30. We just got the confirmation for that, speaking of that. So they definitely were a part of the Trails Day last year.
But Fiona, you bring up a great point. This is the first year we've had this group of like 20 teenagers. And so I think they would really welcome, if you want to do informal research on who uses trails, how they use them, whether or not they're interested in this effort, this trail reconstruction, their ideas for open space and trail programming. Maybe you should ask, OSAC should be asked to be on their agenda.
And I know,
And-
like, a long time ago, probably like 7 months ago, we floated the idea of having some sort of like adventure trail type thing built.
Mhm.
And I think that if we want to consider that, if we want to consider that putting into a budget or something like that, running that by the youth advisory committee, and I can see that being very popular with kids their age. If we create maybe one of the, like the South Trail or, one of those, turn it into some kind of adventure trail.
Nobody mentioned having sort of a designated group member who attends the youth advisory, youth leadership council.
Yes.
But I'm sure they would very much welcome that.
Did-
They are looking for meaningful projects themselves, and we do want them to serve an advisory capacity on town issues, and this is a beautiful one to get their opinion on.
We might want to also reach out again this year for National Trails Day to see if they want to participate with us again, because that was really cool.
Do they meet once a month as well? Do they have a dedicated day?
I don't know what their meeting
It's-
date is.
I think it's the same week as ours, but I'm not sure which day.
Okay.
It's on, I can look it up.
What about attending town board meetings? That's a big one. I mean, there's
Say-
always a ton of stuff that comes out of that.
I've got that on the list also.
For instance, this Zaharias concept, that's a whole, Wow.
Yeah. We need to have some input
That's a
there.
project work group right there.
Oh, so it's the first Wednesday of each month, so it was last week.
First Wednesday of each
Yeah.
month. Yeah. So what I have on the list so far is for possible work distribution items is ProStack meetings, youth leadership council, municipality meetings, such as Brimfield, Louisville, Boulder County, our town board meetings, someone that more or less tracks work plan items, group that focuses specifically on the Coal Creek corridor, make sure that we're always up to date on that, and then somebody who interfaces with the volunteer coordinator and focuses on like the volunteer trail reconstruction and all the opportunities that are going on there. Is there anything that, I can't think of anything else. That's
Events, maybe?
Events.
Like Trails Day that's coming
We've
up.
got Arbor Day, July 4th, Chili Fest.
We gotta actually start thinking about planning for Trails Day.
Yes, we do.
We usually start, I think, in February, or March.
I've got the event plan all ready to go whenever everybody's ready to sign up for their stuff. I'm ready.
Yeah. And I think that would have been good to do tonight.
Yep.
Had we had people here.
Yep.
What's the date for Trails Day?
Trails
June.
Day is gonna be June 5th.
First Sunday in
That's a
June.
Sunday, yeah.
Well, and then there are issue topics. For example, if you want somebody to monitor the buffer issue. Jill used to live over there, so she might be interested in it.
I would also welcome anybody that wants to help me with Summer Star Party. Patricia has done it a couple times so far. It's pretty fun. Anybody, just tossing it out there.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
So this year, it's gonna be on August 12th, and I get these amateur astronomers to bring these huge telescopes out to Boulder County Open Space, and I work with Boulder County, who does a little presentation, and then we have these huge telescopes that everybody can come out and look at. And this year, it's going to be during the Perseids meteor shower.
Oh,
which
sweet.
is super cool. I know, I was like,
Nice.
new moon, okay, meteor shower. The stars are aligned, everybody was free, so I'm
Perfect
super
storm.
excited that it worked out. That's hard, it's hard to get.
What's the date?
It's August 12th,
I'm gonna have to write that one down.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm proud of that. It just came to fruition this past week, which.
Stars aligned.
Yeah, the stars are aligned. And then we have all of our outdoor education programming too, so, you know, of course, everybody's welcome to come, and I have all the dates for that, and you'll notice I'm gonna start forwarding you CAC. I do, like we decided a while back ago that we would have a CAC e-blasts, Facebook, we put it on our newsletter, it's on the website, it's in registration for sign up, and I send it out on the CAC like every week for a few weeks prior to and then the day before or so. So I'm starting to forward those to you, so you'll notice a lot of them coming up on your radar now, because I'm also forwarding them to ProStack as well, so that, you know, you guys are in the loop if you're not on the CAC. I'm going to send them directly to you.
So I think the challenge we're going to have going forward is we've identified more topics than we even have people. I think it's going to be determining the extent of effort that we're looking for each of these things. For instance, I'm not, like, let's say, I'll use ProStack as an example. I mean, if they don't have anything on an agenda that really impacts us or relates to our work, it might not be necessary, I'd say, to show up to those meetings. But if there is, then maybe having a presence there would be good, and then also reporting back. I mean, I don't think it's anybody's intention to turn this volunteer from one time a month to like a 2, 3, 4 times a month thing. So I think it's just gonna be trying to find that happy balance of what to do.
I mean, that's, my concern is that we're struggling to fill up the seats for our one meeting, one day a month. And so I don't want to have the four of us that show up to have four extra things to
Everything.
do each month, because,
Agreed.
you know, it's
I
going to
just
not
be.
sustainable.
suggest if there's something you're passionate about and you want to lead up, pick your one item. And don't worry about a
Trying
big
to fill
list.
everything.
Worry about an effort that's near and dear to you that you want to see succeed by the time you get off OSAC, and grab it and go with it. And if you really want to attend all those meetings, it's prep for running for election in November. And then you can really have a lot of meetings.
One thing I would suggest folks do is that everyone on the committee should sign up for each of the municipalities' email lists for their, like Boulder has an OSAC email blast, Louisville, I get these all the time, I look through their agendas all the time, so if you guys aren't already signed up, I recommend that you sign up to see what is on their agenda, and there are lots of interesting nuggets. I'm looking at this stuff probably too much, but
Well, but
it's-
Sean, since you love doing it anyway, why don't you adopt that as your thing and report each month on the nuggets that you found most interesting?
I can do that, but my nuggets might be different than other people's
You're in
nuggets.
If you're willing to find the nuggets.
Nuggets are nuggets.
That's right, we'll listen.
I didn't know you were doing that, but it would be interesting too.
Yeah, it is.
I'm particularly, I'm actually a little frustrated by this whole Davidson Mesa thing, you know, and where it is or isn't going. We haven't mentioned that as a project, but what is happening there, and boy, it'd be nice if somebody followed it and.
Well, one of the trails that, with the doctor.
Dr. Cog.
Dr. Cog is from that site to our bus rapid transit station at the marketplace.
And when is that being built?
The dates have shifted around since I worked on the application, so I'm not exactly sure how they've moved the timeline for that for that grant. So I'm not sure how they've changed the timeline from when I worked on it.
Where did you say it was going to? To the marketplace? What do you mean by
The
that?
McCaslin Parkway.
To the
BRT.
bus rapid
Yeah.
transit
Okay.
station.
The park and ride.
Pardon
So-
me.
To that underpass.
An additional trail to what's there, because the 36 bikeway connects straight into Davidson Mesa.
That's on the
So-
other side.
Yeah.
That's on
This is
Lewis.
on our side.
More or less
Okay.
gonna follow Marshall Road all the way into the south, so this is on the south side
Of
of US
36.
36. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I was.
Superior side.
Yeah.
Park
Yeah,
and
I'm
Ride
thinking
on the
Davidson
Louisville
Mesa
side.
is Davidson Mesa open space on Louisville, and so I was
It's
confused.
that underpass to that, but
Gotcha.
but coming through and
Okay,
Yeah.
over here.
that makes sense, thank you.
Yeah.
I've not heard anything about a trail on the side of Marshall Road.
I haven't either. It's first.
You mean connecting to Mayhofer or Singletree or whatever?
Mhm.
To
Even-
the whole,
Yeah.
Any
Well,
any
it'll-
connector
Any
trails.
connect-
It'll be
Yeah.
the underpass from Coal Creek into
Right.
town center to the BRT, and then from the BRT to Davidson Mesa. It's
but what if they
long-
want to go to that Morgul? Because that was a concern, is how you get safety. Are you talking
Yeah, how
safely
you
over
cross.
Marshall?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even part of this particular project. I'm not
And this
sure.
is another thing to be coordinated with.
ProStack.
ProStack. There's got to be a little bit of a gentleman's agreement here. What is it called? PC. An agreement between the two committees that this is open space, this is an open space trail, and this is a ProStack trail. Because, for example, Coyote Ridge is always on the ProStack agenda, but Coyote Ridge is an open space trail, is it not?
Yes.
So-
I think that agreement's gonna be harder to get to than than you may think.
That is why that meshed business may be the best approach, but as I keep telling people, it's not the committee where the idea came up
Right.
necessarily.
And I
For
misspoke during
Yeah,
that
yeah.
meeting on Monday.
For example, with the Remington Coal Creek Crossing, that was an open space trail, but it just happened to be the concern of a ProStack member. So I don't care really, but both committees don't have to spend undue time on everything. So let's figure out who will and who will do something else.
Well, I think that was part of the reason we want to get the mission statement and everything agreed upon and passed, put on the website. And then I think actually that probably should be part of the agenda, is kind of go over
Where
we've had everything amended and we're ratified or whatever for our mission and goals, and it's changed from when we were originally, the group was originally founded, and this is what we do now. Our intent is to do anything that is trails on open space, natural trails on open space, so that if you guys have any kind of intent, and you said, any committee can come forward and make a recommendation, but gentlemen's agreement, if they want something that has to do with a open space trail, natural trail, that they get our feedback before they go forward with it, as opposed to just going forward with it. That's
And vice versa.
And vice versa, yeah. I mean, we don't generally go the other way. We have no reason to.
Well, and I think some of the confusion honestly does fall, within ProStack and what they were built for. They have open space in their names, they have trails in their names.
Yeah.
If I'm them, I see why, devil's advocate here, I would say, hey, what do you mean? It's clearly like, this is something we should be looking at too. Why are you trying to take stuff from us?
I think it's commonly understood that you guys do open space, and how that got in there, who knows? But nobody rests on that these days.
Okay.
The real common area and the basis upon you working together is ignorant to look only at trails inside a community and not how they link to the broader region.
Yeah.
And so trails are that great common ground. But how you, obviously, you need to be brought in the loop on anything that is involving an open space trail.
Yep. Added to the list.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be just from having to read their meeting minutes. That they should be actively reaching out to us like we reach out to them. It's not a one-way street.
And I think that'll become very natural after you start having these meetings.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
this one is just the beginning and you have them every quarter.
And I think that's the intention. Since we did it kind of late last year, we had all kind of already developed our 5-year trail plan, but it was discussed that for this year's 5-year trail plan that we more or less collaborate consistently. That way, when it does get time to recommend,
Yep.
we have a joint plan there.
So I have that you're gonna reach out
Yep.
for their.
I'll reach out to those guys.
So can we go around just among you four of the things you've discussed? Are there Fiona, Sean?
Yeah, I'm interested in the coordinating with the youth advisory committee, the volunteer aspects.
Got it. Joel, are you also interested?
Yeah, that's probably the top one on the one I have written down. After that, probably Coal Creek's my second interest.
Okay.
Yeah, I can, I'm already doing it essentially. I can follow the surrounding towns and their OSAC meeting agendas and minutes and such. Actually, attending is a whole different story. That's a lot.
I don't think you need to attend.
I don't
Yeah,
either.
I
I
don't
think
think
it's more
that's-
news items that might impact us or are interesting.
Are you interested in being one of the 3 for our group to go?
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm interested in the board meetings and the ProStack meetings mostly just because I've been following those anyway, trying to make sure if anything does pop up that has to do with OSACA that we should be weighing in on, that we do that. So again, that's kind of something I've already been doing, so.
Are you actually attending the meetings, or are you just watching them?
I haven't had a chance to attend the meetings yet. I am planning on attending the 22nd and the 29th.
Yeah.
To give in person.
I'll at least get the 22nd in for the.
And don't hesitate to come up and comment. And you can always say, I'm commenting for myself, it hasn't gone through the committee, but whatever. So.
Are you wanting to do the joint meeting with municipalities also?
Yeah.
I think. How about volunteer trail reconstruction?
Yeah?
Yeah.
I have two in there, yeah.
Okay, you got them already written down?
Is that different? Because
I must-
I was including that in the
That's
same
what
thing,
I was too.
yeah.
Arbor Day, April 16th, anybody?
That might just be something that we can say, hey, this is coming up,
The
who's
whole
available.
I've got
So we have
a
one more meeting.
table and booth for you guys.
Awesome. Let's see.
April 16th.
Mhm.
Who's doing the
Probably
who's doing the Coal Creek corridor so far? Just George?
I said that's probably the second thing on the list that interests me the most.
Yeah, that interests me. as
Joel,
well.
I thought you said the Youth Leadership Council. I must be going deaf. Did you say volunteer trail?
Trail volunteers and the Coal Creek corridor are the two that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So kind of a combined effort in the two.
I'm going deaf, so, okay. But Fiona, you said youth leadership, right? Okay.
And I
And the
think,
trails.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think like the building trails and the youth leadership could be one and the same in some aspect too.
Then I can also just be a utility player, fill in as needed when things are needed. Since we have two more meetings before Arbor Day, I mean, we have a booth that we'll have there. We kind of already have a template for how we do things that we more or less figured out for Chili Fest, because I thought that went really well. So I think that'll be an easy one, so when we get closer, we can find out who's gonna volunteer for that. I think the big one is just gonna be, we really need to, at the next meeting, start moving on Trails Day.
Yeah.
So we'll need more people here.
I've got the event plan all worked out and the request to the board with budget and, we just need to figure out who's gonna head up the different things like Rocky Mountain.
Yep.
And I've got Hawk Quest is already scheduled for
Perfect.
9:30 like we discussed a couple meetings ago, so
Awesome.
we could put that on the agenda maybe for one of our big items next month.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we've kind of touched on everything we had on our agenda tonight. I think we probably had a longer meeting if we could have gone over some other stuff, but does anyone else have anything that you want to talk about while the four of us are here?
I just want to touch on the one thing was the marketing also from the town board joint session, marketing of our group and other things and how we plan to do that. Our website is one way of doing that. I think it was mentioned Engage Superior was another way. And we have the email blast, we have all sorts of things of marketing, open space stuff. I guess the question is do we want to put together a concrete proposal, I guess, going forward I think we're doing a lot of marketing as it is of things and events. I mean, it's nonstop. Our website, I mean, I've looked at other open space committees' websites. They have more stuff on their websites than we do. We could probably enhance that some. But I don't know what liberty we have to add stuff to it.
Well, depending on what it is, typically all the committees are kind of, everyone's page is relatively the same. And if we had some type of request, then that would have to go through our admin department, and our assistant town manager typically works on the website
Okay.
things. But typically everybody's pages are, except for ours now with mission and goals. You know, it has objective, it has the time of our meetings, it has like a little bit of miscellaneous information, you know, that is at the bottom, and then, you know, agendas and notes that are linked to that area, so. It's pretty generic.
Yeah. I guess I'd like to see some more specific things added. I mean, you know, links to engage here. I don't think we even have all the document links for all the you know, the mega documents. And they're not all working either right now. So stuff like that, it'd be nice to, you know, maybe add pictures of our committee members, but that's, you know, just me. It's nice to put a name to a face, and so if people see out in the community, they know, or if they go to the website and they see, oh, I know that person. You know, but again, you know, that's if we're trying to keep it generic.
I think right now the town board is the only group that has pictures up. I don't think anybody else does yet.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
Say-
know that.
Right, and you know,
Yeah,
I don't know how
it's a
much people actually
limitation.
go to our website either. I don't know if there's a count or a way of determining how many hits our OSAC page gets, you know, and which links people click on, and, you know, what's of value to people, basically.
Lots of me.
There should be a way to track that, because, you know, obviously if we're trying to do a better job of marketing OSAC and what we stand for and what we can do to help others in the community, you know, some way of collecting that information.
Having
and-
some metric to.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to metrics. You know, how they can more easily get to our website, how they can easily get to trail maps on our website, you know.
It should have the data for like what searches brought them to that page. How many
Right,
people viewed it there,
right.
what, like, how many links, or like, all of that's tracked.
Right.
So it should have it.
That would be nice. So I don't know if that data can be
I can
gathered.
ask.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'd
for
be
sure.
awesome. And then maybe, I don't know if we can put together some kind of generic proposal of what minor things we can do that might help based on the activity on the site or lack thereof.
You know, marketing, it can be as simple as taking advantage of the Superior Sentinel and having an open space little,
Well, that's interesting. We don't even advertise that we're having an open space committee meeting on our
Oh,
board
really?
as far as, yeah, we never do. I never see that. We never.
We
ever
have
see
our
that.
agendas up
No,
on the
no, I mean
board.
on the
No, on the
digital
marquee.
board,
electronic
on the marquee. We
signs.
never advertise.
I thought I'd
Huh.
seen it before. but-
I've seen OSAC committee member meetings, but not the.
Yeah, not that we
Yeah.
have a meeting, you know, meeting
well,
tonight.
it wouldn't hurt. That's
So
all
that's the-
subliminal marketing. But it's interesting. I mean, that's another way to get community input on something, to put a little piece in the Superior Sentinel and have them be able to email X to comment. Or, of course, it can always be through an Engaged Superior or something like that. But, you know, that actually could be a thing a committee member, a task a committee
Mhm.
member might want to take on to, is there something once a month from an open space? And it could be a report on a great coyote hike with a couple of tips on coyote management, you know?
Yeah.
And sent by
Mhm.
one of you.
I did work on our wildlife updates this past year that they had never done before, and marketed those on the website on the front page and sent them out, CAC and eBlast. And there's always one of our educational programs that's sponsored by OSAC in almost every newsletter and things like that too.
So you do that already, sort of?
Well, I haven't been doing recaps of.
Well, I mean, it can
or-
take any aspect you want, but it's just, I think, to build acknowledgement of the role of OSAC in town and maybe enthusiasm beyond the committee.
And the Sentinel's not bad. I think that probably gets more viewership consistently.
What about a Facebook page?
We put our hikes on that also.
Is there an OSAC Facebook page?
There's not an
No,
OSAC, there's a
Town of
Town of
Superior.
Superior, and like, you know, we put our walks and our bug hunts and Jeff and Paige and all of our, and on most of the media, depending on which angle you're coming from, eventually it's either on the first page or the second page where it says sponsored by OSAC, as far as
Yes.
through the contract, which I started doing a while back ago, so.
I actually think of cool things like that Star Party. You could contact the hometown news reporter and she might actually come and do a story on it, that kind of
We
thing.
had one. We had one
Okay.
last year.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So we're pretty.
You're
on
coming.
Yeah,
And our coyote information.
Now, if I just read the hometown weekly.
No, and our coyote, actually, that 9 News
Yeah.
with Ashley,
Yep.
I put them together.
Oh, cool.
So that was us too.
Okay.
Just. yeah.
You know what, you maybe just need to report to the committee all the things
Yeah,
you've
sounds
done
like
to
you're doing a lot.
promote us.
Yeah, no kidding, geez.
Well, actually, it's funny because Patricia had a question, and I said, this is probably way more information than you want to know, but here's, when you feel like looking at it, here's all the marketing that we do. And it's not just me, it's also Katie Rummel, our volunteer and event supervisor. Her and I work together a lot, and then I work a lot with Ashley on the wildlife updates and things when we see something on the CAC that's, you know, getting attention, like I did the coyote wildlife update. And, you know, we have residents that call in, for example, with raccoons and their bird feeders. And then I get a hold of Ashley, and then she calls to help them mitigate problems. So there's also that resource that OSAC sponsors, so there's a lot of stuff going on. You know?
Early
Yeah.
dismissal, it looks like.
Well, anything else
I'm
we
in
go to the order?
favor.
I mean, we'll bring all this up with the ProStack as well during that joint meeting, see,
Mm.
work with them,
Mhm.
grab their ideas, but yeah,
I would just like to see OSAC
I think that makes sense.
on the on the board. That would be the first place to start.
So Ken, you're
Yeah.
going to next week's pro staff meeting, right? Is that right?
First I'm gonna do is reach out to, Peter, and Sandy and, figure out a meeting time that we can have that leadership meeting. I haven't seen their agenda for next week yet. I don't think I have, I'll have to double check. If they do have anything that's applicable to what we're doing, then yeah. All right. Well, in that case, we're adjourned.
All right. Cool. Wow. Early. Not used to that. Yeah, seriously.
What happens next month if we don't have quorum? I mean, do these things just continue to get kicked down the road, or?
In the past, that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Well, we have no choice if that is what happens.
Well, we can have an emergency meeting, right? If we need to do something. Couldn't we do like, yeah, I mean, couldn't we do one in 2 weeks just to get it done?
That's a really good question. Especially
I mean,
if
that's,
we're gonna have more than, if we're gonna get 5 people to show up next week, maybe we can see how many people are able to for that education meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to have-
that would be, if that's, can be made official, that would be the way to do it.
Yeah, I did. Usually as the weather gets nicer, everybody gets busier. So if we're having low attendance now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You should have seen it when I first joined. We go 3, 4, 5 months without quorum.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Nothing got done.
when did you start?
2.5 years ago now?
Wow, so you started like not that much before I did. Oh, really? Wow.
There was a lot of transition going on then.
Yeah.
And then like, I think 3 people dropped off right as I got on, and then no one actually wanted to be on OSAC, so they couldn't pick a spot. Yeah, that was.
But you stuck it out.
But look, there's a lot of X's on our first quarter, so we're doing.
So-
I just wanted, I put that up there for you guys, don't lose heart.
I like that.
Yes, good.
We can do a survey.